Excellent. Welcome, traveler.
Hell. Alright, so I've been talking for a while, and I just realized my mic is muted. My apologies. Jesus, so I did my first announcement for nothing. Alright, so anyway. Raiders, welcome.
Welcome, traveler.
Thank you, Frankie, for joining the tavern. Grab yourself a mug of ale, pull up a chair, have fun, don't fireball my tavern. Same with you, Haven Knight, no fireballing the tavern. Alright, hi, I'm Ruby Matt Harem, I'm a variety streamer. I basically, on Mondays, do something called Multiplayer Monday, where me and my friends play some sort of multiplayer game together, and we have a blast. Tuesdays, which is tonight, we do something called Tabletop Tuesday, where we basically discuss gaming, whether mostly tabletop RPGs, but we also bring in video games, movies, geek stuff, whatever it happens. And I appreciate the check-in vendors. Faye Fox basically fireballing my goddamn tavern. So welcome. My first announcement today was basically my sponsors, which are Shock by Gaming Servers, linked down below, and W Energy Drinks, linked down below. If you use W Energy Drinks, use my name, Ruby Mad Hatter, for 10% off the purchase, all your purchases. If you use the link down below for Shock by Gaming Servers, it helps out by providing a little bit of funds for us to keep our lights on. All right, so I appreciate that. With that being said, I was talking about the other fun stuff we were doing today. We basically have a little picker wheel that we run, and we basically talk about whatever topics are on it that come up. If you want to add a topic, it's 100 critical roles, and you can add a topic. All right, and I'll add it to the wheel, as long as it's Twitch appropriate. That's the important thing. Well, no, it cannot involve D&D, because some of the things we have on here are like VTubing and stuff. So there is that. With that being said, let me introduce my partner in crime, CandidGamera. You, of course, have to set off the damn face hugger. Thank you.
Don't do that during my intro. Do it when he's, calm and quiet and talking about something else.
Hey, all of you are torturous little swine. Alright, so Gamera, go ahead and at least say hi and all that stuff, since apparently it got interrupted by the facehugger.
Yes, hello, how is everybody? Hope everyone is having a less active week than I am so far.
Oh my god, I've had a very active week too. I do want to say, like, the beginning of the stream real quick, that I heard something recently in the news involving a VTuber, and while my heart goes out to her and make sure that she's okay, what happened to her was complete bullshit. It was, goddamn, Silvermane?
Silvervale.
Silvervale. I'm really bad with names, and I apologize. Silvervale is, she was a VTuber, and she was playing Hogwarts Legacy, and she got death threats, as well as harassment until the point where she broke down crying and immediately logged off the stream after breaking down. This is not okay, whether you're for the game or against the game. This level of harassment, this level of, behavior is not acceptable. Like, if you're trying to help the trans community, this is not how you do it.
No, you're basically just setting a horrible example, making it, you're being the kind of bully that you should be against, and yeah, there's no excuse for making a poor streamer break down and cry.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up because, like, it was something I saw and I was just like, this is not acceptable in any sense of the word. Okay, apparently I have to try something. Yeah, it's pretty good. A little rich for my taste, but it's still pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, I did GM Burnout twice. Introverts and RPGs. Single environment games is on here twice, I think. Yep. Manipulating wishes, off-color content. Generic RPG systems. I think that's all. Nope, I got one more that needs to. And there's another fireball. Heavenly Hash. Hey, Heavenly. Thank you. I followed Inquisition earlier. Thanks. Inquisition will love that. Frosty Root Beer. Hey, Ruby. Hey, Frosty. How you doing? Good gods. There's so many. Like, hi. Okay. So, let me get over to this. And... well, what? Oh, yeah. Okay, there we go. Game capture. But let's do display capture first. Alright. Hi. Alright, so we have the wheel. Honey, can you do me a favor? My backpack has the water bottle. Can I please have it? Thank you. Alright, so like I said, for 100 channel points, which are called critical rolls here, you can add to this wheel. Alright, Gamera, are you prepared to take the result of the wheel?
Yes. Wheel of morality, turn, turn, turn.
That wheel is going to grind us to dust. Alright, let's see what we got. Alright, sci-fi games. So, I feel like this is going to be both sci-fi video games we've played that we really enjoy and tabletop RPGs.
Yeah, we can definitely spend some time on both.
Yeah.
You want to start us off with maybe some talk about Stellaris?
Oh my god, Stellaris, yes. Give me a second. Let me change this. I gotta change the topic thing. Can I click on it, please? Thank you. Sci-fi games. Amazon watch parties. Oh, we got a wheel ad. Amazon watch parties. Alright, that's been added to the wheel. Huzzah. Thank you, Heavenly Hash. Alright. New one. Reasons to fireball the tavern.
That's pretty meta.
That's pretty meta. Yes, that is meta. Alright, so let's talk about Stellaris, and I'm also going to bring up RimWorld as well, because that's kind of sci-fi-y.
Sure.
Alright. Stellaris, I feel, is a great sci-fi game for the simple fact that it has so much replayability, it has so much customization, and it literally lets you create your own story.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I think, honestly cool as hell. Like, I think you agree with me on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a long fondness for that genre of game where you are doing like the 4X stuff, and Stellaris is an excellent implementation of it. It's got some like consistent style stuff that makes it an interesting universe, but really it's about creating your own story. It's probably my second favorite sci-fi 4X after Master of Orion 2.
I still haven't played that yet.
Holy shit, dude. Come on.
I like I've had so many people like go on about it, just like, you need to play this, and I'm like, I haven't gotten around to it. I think I have it. Let me double check. I want to make sure I have it or not.
In my opinion, it is the defining classic of the genre. Like, it is...
How do we put Master?
Master of Orion 2.
Yeah, I don't have it in Steam.
Might not be available in Steam. I think GOG has it.
Yep. My humor is different. Riku Highwind, how are you? I'm doing fine, Riku. I hope you're doing a great time. I have Faye basically attempting to cause me to have an aneurysm. So there's that. Let's see. Oh, I might have it under GOG.
Yeah, I mean that. If I recall correctly, the GOG folks bought Lock, Stock, and Barrel the Master of Orion license, so they have the ability to make sequels and stuff.
I don't think I have it. Period.
Okay.
I don't think I have any member of that series. I might have it in Epic, but.
Well, I mean, it was from Microprose shortly after they had come out with like bangers like Master of Magic and Civilization. So it has a good pedigree.
Oh yeah.
Let's see.
Have so many facehuggers and burnt frickin' tavern that I'm gonna have to like take insurance out on me and the tavern.
Of course, you've got RimWorld there, which is sci-fi dwarf fortress.
Yep, and I like it. It's very well made. And every expansion they seem to keep improving the formula.
Mm-hmm.
Which is good, and it's moddable as hell. And I feel like that's one of the good things about any sci-fi game, whether it's a tabletop RPG or a computer, is that it has the ability to be modded or shifted in a way that's more useful to you or your group.
Sure.
I will say that there is one negative sci-fi RPG I've run into. Bards get Fireball. Technically, no. They can get a wand of Fireball, I believe.
Or if you're a 5th edition Bard College of Lore, you can take Magical Secrets and take whatever the hell spells you want.
That's true. But the negative sci-fi game I've run into, and it's when I say negative, I'm talking about RPG-wise, has been Starfinder.
Starfinder frustrates me.
In my honest opinion, it needed to percolate more. They really rushed the game out. And it did not have enough playtesting.
I don't agree necessarily that it was rushed. I mean, it may in fact have been rushed, but I don't think that was the core problem. The core problem for Starfinder for me is it really desperately wants to be Star Wars, and it feels like a second-rate copy of Star Wars. Yeah. And I just don't think it works that way. I think it could have like established its own identity more, but it really wants to be science fantasy, which is, you know, a valid subgenre of science fiction with some fantasy overtones.
Right.
And it is that, but it's just like, okay, yeah, I could play that, or I could play Star Wars.
Yeah, I could play Star Wars, and it doesn't work in my opinion. And it's just the biggest problem I had with Starfinder was the encounter balance.
Okay.
Either you easily stomped the enemy, like completely, or the enemy easily stomped you.
Interesting.
There was no middle ground. There was no, you know, hey, this is a challenge and you're barely getting through it if you're clever. It was almost entirely like you are going to get boned, or you are going to completely have easy time.
Sure.
And that was with the random encounter abilities that were written in the book. The only time I had balanced encounters was when they did pre-gen adventures.
Okay.
And that's a sign of a bad system. Because, like, the pre-gen adventures didn't really follow the random encounter rules that were presented in the main core book.
Gotcha.
And so it was basically like, you have to break your own rules to make a balanced encounter.
I was not thrilled about the way they handled their equipment at all.
I think the equipment leveling was a good concept, but in practice it wasn't well done.
Well, yeah, and it's like the chart, the money, the credit level that required for the different levels of equipment. It's like, holy shit, okay. This is exponential growth in terms of the price of gear, and it just feels wrong.
Well, it's not even just that, but also they made it so, like, you could only afford one good weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if I'm in a sci-fi setting, I want, like, a couple. Usually, like, I want some sort of melee weapon, like a knife or a baton or something, if I'm a ranged character.
Sure.
And then, like, whatever my ranged gun is. Alright? Whether it's a rifle, a heavy weapon, shotgun, whatever. And then, if I'm a melee character, I want my really good melee weapon. But then I also want, like, that pistol. Like that sidearm.
Sure. Yeah.
Just so I have something to shoot at enemies with if I can't get close.
Yeah, and the thing is, okay, a lot of different genres of game have a sliding scale of where they fall on the loot index, as I will spontaneously call it. And it basically is a measure of how gear intensive your capabilities are in a given game, how likely you are to be able to pick up gear from the bad guys and use it yourself. Stuff like superhero and horror, they're not terribly gear intensive. Horror a little more so than superhero.
Yeah.
But like if you beat Iron Man, you can't just pick up Iron Man's suit because, you know, it's custom designed for him and there are, you know, rules to prevent that. But sci-fi, I think, even more so than your typical D&D fantasy game, is very gear intensive. Like, yes, D&D is all about kill the bad guys, loot the corpses, but a lot of the shit you're looting from the corpses is like, oh, it's another masterwork crossbow. Cool, I'll toss it on the pile. And it's irrelevant. Whereas with sci-fi, you often have meaningful differences in gear that don't exist in like a D&D context. So like ranged weapons in D&D, your choices are usually bows and crossbows and then the shit that sucks, like javelins.
Yeah.
So you really don't have a lot of options. But like in a sci-fi game, you're going to have, well, maybe you want a sonic weapon, maybe you want a force blaster, maybe you want a plasma weapon. You know, you'll have different things that are available. And so there is more of the, oh, I'm just going to pick up this pistol off this guy and use it to fire some shots. You're also usually a little less weapon proficiency bound in a sci-fi environment. So like you're familiar with all pistols, not just like this one kind of pistol.
Yeah, and that's a problem.
So yeah, sci-fi games, the larger point I'm leaning towards here is sci-fi games have to be more careful about how they handle gear. And I think Starfinder falls down there because it wants to handle gear in like a D&D style balance context, and it just doesn't work very well. Yes, you wanted to build in these bonuses to make the gear cool and kind of ramp up and scale, but it also makes the cost that is appropriate for them just absurd. Like in your Star Wars game, your various pistols probably cost between 200 and 2,000 credits. That is the cheapest and most expensive pistol you will find. But because Starfinder bakes in those bonuses, like this is, you know, the +2 version of this or whatever, you have to account for that in balance, and it just, yeah, it's frustrating.
Horribly.
Very frustrating.
Yeah, and that's the thing that aggravates the crap out of me. It's just like you get all of these things and they try to do too much at once.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, guys, you need to chill on this. And it's just like, why is this a thing? Why are they doing this?
So yeah, that is not one of my favorite sci-fi TTRPGs. Apparently, it does have its defenders and followers. I've seen people speak highly of it. It just does not gel for me. But more power to people who enjoy it.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that's cool. Like, whatever floats your boat, man. But at the same time, it's just like, dude, we need better options here. It's just like, come on.
We are in kind of a good era for sci-fi TTRPGs. I think we've got interesting stuff like the Alien TTRPG. We've got the Modiphius Star Trek. We've got I forget if there's a current Star Wars or if the most recent one has just recently ended its print run.
Saga is the newest one.
Saga? Really? Did they use that name again?
I guess. I'm not sure. I mean, I could look it up real quick.
I mean, the last one I remember is the Force and Destiny Fantasy Flight Games Star Wars game with the fancy dice. There's Mothership.
Midnight Legacy of Darkness.
Is that a...
It's a Star Wars TTRPG done by Edge Studios. And it uses the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition system.
Okay, so that is not an official Star Wars game.
According to this, it is.
Really?
Yeah, it's got the official license.
Okay, well, I see Midnight Legacy of Darkness. That is the Midnight game. It's a D&D extension. I don't... Yeah. You mean the publishers of Midnight are doing a Star Wars game?
Yeah, it says Edge Studios received a new trailer.
Yeah. Okay.
Is the latest edition of an RPG that originally used the Dungeons & Dragons gameplay system. So, what is the addition?
Okay, so Edge Studio is behind the official Star Wars TRPGs, and they're releasing a new version of their existing Midnight game, which is another game they have published.
Right. Heroic Path, Fantasy Roleplay, So why did it just come up when I looked up Star Wars?
Because I think that's Edge Studio's most notable...
Okay.
Because they were the ones behind Age of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, and Force and Destiny, the ones I was just talking about. They did that as part of Fantasy Flight Games.
Then it's got to be the Fantasy Flight Games one with the freaking weird dice.
Yep. So that is the most recent Star Wars game. But
yeah. I never didn't really care for that one.
I am always... If your game requires me to buy special dice, I am almost certainly going to ignore it, because I have plenty of very good dice. I want to continue to use them. I do not need to go invest in a bunch of dice that I can't use for any other game.
Dilly to Do. Hey, welcome, man. Working in gaming. Hope you have a great strum, my friend. I think you might stream, but that's okay. You have a great night too, man. I appreciate the work. Dilly's a good guy. So yeah, Star Wars hasn't gotten a new one for a while. I wouldn't mind seeing them get like a 5th ed update. The one I've had the best experience with though so far has been the what is it? The D20 one.
Oh yeah, the Star Wars D20, the original or revised flavor.
Yeah. I feel like those were the ones I had the best experience with, though it needs some modifications. Like the modifications I did in my game when you were playing in it. Changing how critical hits work. Because that needed to happen, because good Christ was everyone squishy.
I liked the Saga edition that immediately followed that version. I thought it was pretty solid.
I need to raise my mic. see if that works. Is that better, Dilly? Because apparently my volume's way lower than yours.
Ah.
So there's that.
All the better for them to hear me with.
Apparently.
But yeah, I really liked the Saga edition. It actually was a proto 4th edition game from Wizards, but it actually had like the good parts about 4th edition without the bad parts, in my opinion. So it was like, oh yeah, some condensed skill lists, there's some good changes here, and then they took it too far. But yeah, just really liked Saga edition. Probably my favorite. Toss up, I guess, with the classic West End game Star Wars original.
Alright. Let's see if that works better. Is that better now?
I can hear you louder.
Oh yeah, I had to turn up the microphone as well. Am I too loud for you?
No.
Okay, I just want to be sure. Awesome. Alright, we fixed it. Whew. Alright. That might help a bit. They liked your voice though. So that's saying something. But yeah, no, the critical hit thing with the Star Wars D20 was just bad. It was just like, you get a critical hit, you get to take your weapons damage and apply it directly to their wounds, and a character's wounds was rarely over 20.
Yeah.
And you were rolling 3d8. So that was like a quick way to have a character die. And a 3d8 damage die was not hard to achieve.
Yeah.
It was just like, god dang, man. That's
good
wild.
way to get smoked.
T-Moon, thank you for the little emotes. They're appreciated. They're cool. And I like the little dancing person. It's like, but also, I will say for sci-fi games, I liked the Star Trek video games.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of them are really well made. Others are really crappily made.
I mean, yeah.
But I feel like the difference between good and bad is not as severe as it is in Star Wars. Because, like, with Star Wars, you either get a really good game or you get a really shitty game.
That's fair.
Oh no, Pikachu's got a Glock. Pikachu's got a Glock in chat. But, like, for Star Trek, like, some of the games that I found that were very good, it depends on what you're looking for. If you want the storyline feel of Star Trek, go with, like, something like Star Trek The Next Generation of Final Unity. It's very well made, it was very well designed, and it feels like Star Trek, like a Star Trek episode.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least a two-parter. Alright, so there's that. If you want the feel of Star Trek in a gameplay sense, I like Star Trek Starfleet Academy for that. Like the newer one. That was very well done. Star Trek Klingon Academy is also really good for that. I was not a fan of the Star Trek... I think it was Star Trek Starfleet Command Gold or something like that.
Okay.
Let me double check that. It's Star Trek... Yeah, Starfleet Command. It went off the tabletop version of Star Trek. With the miniatures and everything.
Yeah.
And so they overly complicated the hell out of the game. Like, you had to power manage like a god. Oops, thank you for the Smurf check-in, I appreciate that. Another fun game, though, I had with Star Trek, and now, mind you, this does not feel like Star Trek. I'm going to say that right now. And I can tell you right now, Gamera, you would not enjoy the game.
Okay.
And it's Star Trek Elite Force.
Okay.
It is a first-person shooter Star Trek game. And they followed Voyager with the first one. The second one was on the Enterprise E. I had a blast with it because, like, what up, brother? Got you up, but no sound on my PC trying to troubleshoot. Okay, oops, no problem. I get that. Elite Force was fun because like you got some weird Star Trek-y-ish weapons.
Sure.
That including alien and human. And so I had a lot of fun with it, especially one that was called the Arc Thrower. And the best way I could put it is a YouTuber named Boomer2K played the game, and his description of the weapon is just hilarious. He picks up the weapon and goes, "Behold, I am Thor, God of Thunder," and just shoots a giant lightning bolt.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's funny. That's a great way to describe that weapon.
My favorite Star Trek games are probably, oh man, I think they were released in 1991. The first one was.
Okay.
It was Star Trek, I think just 25th anniversary is what it was called.
Yes.
From Interplay.
And it had the expansion Judgment Rights.
Yep.
Those were fun as hell. And it had so many chapters of the game that felt like episodes.
You had combination of space battles and like point and click style adventure game.
And it was fun.
Oh yes.
I will say that was a blast. I had a lot of fun with that. Another Star Trek game that I've enjoyed watching, I haven't played it yet, was Star Trek Away Team. All right. It is an isomorphic, kind of like Fallout 1.
Okay.
So you have the top-down view. And you have a small special forces away team that is great at stealth and infiltration. And it has a storyline that you have to follow and so forth. And it gives you not just main objectives, but secondary objectives. And a lot of the secondary ones are stealth-based.
Sure.
So you can go through the game blasting your way through everything, but you won't get the secondary stuff.
Right.
But if you get all the secondary objectives, you earn extra tools.
Okay.
That make the gameplay easier by like a large margin.
Right.
And it's cool as hell. And it involves like the Romulans, it involves the Borg. It has, I think, a Ferengi level.
Nice.
And the cool thing with it also is the enemies have a sight cone that you can see. So like you can watch them patrol and see their sight cone. But aside from the sight cone, they also have one that is invisible, and that's their auditory cone. So if you sneak behind them and you're too loud within that little circle, they'll see you.
Yeah.
Which is also kind of cool. And I like it. It was just like, okay, that's neat. Oh, they want beer. Beer.
Sure. Beer.
I'll give you some
beer.
I should have like 60 something on beer. Shouldn't be a problem. How much beer do I have? I have 600 beer. Yeah. Refugees want beer. Got it. One game though I had a blast with, and I haven't played the second one yet, but I want to. But I've played the first and the third. Is Star Trek Armada.
Okay.
Have you ever tried it?
A lot of the Star Trek ones blend together for me.
Real-time strategy game. You're dealing with the 4 factions you get to play, which are the Federation, the Klingons, the Romulans, and the Borg. Federation is your Jean-Luc Picard or Worf. Klingons, your Worf pretty much the entire time. Romulans, your Sela. And the Borg, your Locutus. Because the Borg cloned Locutus.
Okay.
And so you have Picard versus Locutus.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't think I played that one.
It's very well done. The second game involves the Borg again and Species 8472 and some other factions. They both have their advantages and disadvantages when it comes to gameplay. Like, in the first game, the ships are really tough to kill, but they're also really easy to take over. So, like, as soon as you get your enemy's shields down, you just start beaming people over, like, en masse, and that way you can get free resources.
Sure.
The Borg being the kings of that strategy.
Yeah.
But the thing with Armada 1 that I always tell people, and I ran into this with the Templin Institute because he was playing it, and some of his gameplay was just literally driving me insane because he was using the same mindset for every faction. And that is Armada 1, in order to succeed at it, you really have to think like your faction does. Because the game developers really put that into mind when they designed each faction.
Mm-hmm.
So the Federation is very much about defending and then counterattacking. Like, they're very good at it. The Klingons are aggressive, aggressive, aggressive. Just keep hitting your enemy until they're gone. Romulans, you have to think like a Romulan. You have to be tricksy. You have to lay traps, all kinds of shit. And that's what makes the mission, like, their missions really fun. The Borg's missions, when you play as a Borg, you really have to think like one, which is, don't be aggressive, don't try to be sneaky, just be that relentless storm coming, and just slowly move towards your enemy. Because that was the problem the Template Institute was having, was he goes, the Borg are not that powerful, what's going on? I'm like, no, dude, the Borg are super powerful in this game. You just have to be patient. Which is, rich coming from me.
Yeah. Speaking of strategy games and Star Trek, Birth of the Federation is another absolute banger.
That was a banger, but I will say that there is one modification that needs to be made to that game to make it even better. Change how Cloak works. Because Cloak in that game is broken as shit. You get a free first strike attack against your enemy, and they don't have shields.
Yep.
That is instant death for everyone you come across. Like, anytime a Borg cube showed up, I literally went at them with 9 warbirds and literally did the same amount of damage as over 40 Federation ships did.
The advantage of surprise.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was just like, that's why I always, in that game, I played Romulans, because everybody else could not stand a chance against them. It was just so ridiculous. And even though the game originally was designed to be in favor of the Federation. Because they got not only more ships, they got stronger ships, too, than everyone else. Especially the Defiant class.
Yeah.
Defiant class was broken as hell. It's like, hi, I have a bunch of really tiny ships that do a fuck ton of damage, and they're really hard to kill. And on top of that, they move 5 squares compared to everyone else's 3. It was just like, nah, man, that's broken as hell. Not to mention also espionage and sabotage in that game are also deadly devices. You put enough points into espionage and sabotage, you don't...
For the skull throne!
Oh, there's Inquisition.
For the blood god!
You put enough points into espionage and sabotage, my friend, you don't need to fight the enemy fleets. They'll blow up themselves. Hey, Inquisition, how's it going? I hope you're doing well, my friend. So there's that. I do also want to try Star Trek Bridge Commander one day. It looks kind of fun.
Sure.
But there is that. Other than that, I can't really think of any other Star Trek games. I do want to try the Star Trek Tabletop RPG. For Star Wars, I didn't talk about any Star Wars video games. You've been sitting there going, Star Trek. I forgot about Star Wars. When it comes to Star Wars, there are some video games that are horrifyingly bad, like Rebel Assault, which was an on-rails shooter piloting game.
Yep.
Wasn't very well designed, but I get what they were going for. There's the Star Wars Super Nintendo games, which, while interesting, you died so much.
I liked them quite a bit, but yes, they were pretty deadly.
Yeah, it was brutal as hell. Then you had the Star Wars Flight Sims. I just got done with a Star Wars Old Republic gameplay. Yes. That's one game that's really good. I would heavily recommend Star Wars The Old Republic.
So yeah, the flight sims, though, you were getting ready to talk about, those are my favorites.
Oh yeah, my personal favorite is X-Wing Alliance.
I
love X-Wing Alliance. It took everything from the previous games and just gameplay-wise made it better.
I saw someone on YouTube last year that was apparently working on an unofficial full remaster, and I'm like, I really want to see what they can do with that.
I've seen mods that do it.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen of the mods, it looks gorgeous. If it's the same guy who was working on the mods, he knows what he's doing.
I'll have to check in on it again.
Yeah.
The X-Wing TIE Fighter, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, and X-Wing Alliance games are single-handedly responsible for the fact that I still own a joystick for my computer.
See, where's mine? Give me a second. I have mine right here. As soon as I can pull it out. Stop getting stuck. My joystick's getting stuck. I still have mine right here.
Hey, don't talk about that on stream, man.
But no, this is what I use for my flight sims.
Yeah. I still have like a Thrustmaster joystick, and it's just like the only reason I keep those is because of those flight sim Star Wars games.
Oh yeah.
I will give you one throwback. One of the earliest games that I ever played back in the Atari 2600 days was that Empire Strikes Back, where you were the tiny little snow speeder trying to tie up the legs of the AT-ATs. That was a nightmare.
I hated doing that. That was so fucking brutal all the time. It was just like, come on, man. It's like, why do you have to keep doing this? The old Battlefront games, the early 2001s.
Mm-hmm.
Glorious. I loved them to death. Not the first one so much as the second one.
Okay.
The 2005 Battlefront 2 was really well done. You got to play as like the 501st. You got to follow them storyline-wise. Do all kinds of crazy, fun things. But with that being said, the new Battlefronts, while have some good graphics to them and they have the sounds down, the microtransactions literally killed them. Inquisition, I had one of them, but I only used it for Star Lancer. I'm trying to remember Star Lancer. I don't remember that one.
I wonder if it's related to Freelancer.
Could be. Then there was the Descent series and Free Space.
Sure.
Free Space was pretty good. I did play Star Wars Squadrons, and I do have some... What's the word I'm looking for? Compliments I want to give it, but I also have a main complaint from it. All right? The compliments I want to give, sound design is brilliant. The single-player story is fun as hell. The gameplay is fun. Like, it can be entertaining to do. My main complaint with it is the AI is ridiculous.
I see.
It's either got the most pinpoint targeting of a fighter pilot ace, or it is the most drunken, drugged-out pilot you will ever see in your goddamn life. It's one or the other. And it cannot seem to make up its mind which one's which. And that was me playing through, like, the single player. It was the pilots were basically not well designed. They were drunk, they were dumb, and they basically were super easy to take down. But when you did multiplayer and you did versus AI in multiplayer, yeah, that was bad. That was when the fighter pilots went from basically being drunk to basically being gods. And I don't understand how the hell it got away with that.
Dipping back for a second into the sort of 4X related genre, I've never actually had the chance to play the Star Control series, but everybody speaks very highly of it. And there's I think, fan remaster of the second Star Control, the Urquan Masters, which I keep meaning to play and just haven't done. But have you ever played Lightspeed?
No, it doesn't sound familiar.
Okay, again, this is Microprose from back in the day when Microprose was just churning out hit after hit.
Yeah.
You are essentially a single vessel. You get to find components to upgrade your vessel. Sometimes you get in fights and components are damaged and you need to trade with people to get components. But basically, you're a single ship. You're trying to, I forget if you're like trying to get somewhere specific. It's almost like a precursor to like FTL or Fastest Trip to Earth, but without like the roguelike element. And it was more of a cockpit view and engine room view than a top-down, like, this is your battle grid inside your ship view.
Yeah, mentioning FTL, while I know a lot of people enjoyed that game, I did not because the randomness did not mesh with the game's end goal.
Yeah, I feel like it is just a little too random. I like it and its successor a decent bit, but it leaves something to be desired for me.
The alpacas are fighting a living death plant. I'm a little confused here.
I'm sure the alpacas are equally confused.
Yeah, because it did say it was going after one of my colonists, and now it's stopping to eat a alpaca.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now it's wandering. Oh, okay, whatever. That's weird, but we'll go with it. I guess it's no longer hunting the person.
Let me see. What else do we have in sci-fi? I mean, we've got stuff like
Wing Commander. I just remember that one.
Wing Commander's a good classic series. I was also going to say like Terraria / Starbound.
Those are both good. One of these days we should play that. We would have fun, I think, with that.
Honestly, as much as I love Starbound, I feel like it's basically literally just a shallower Minecraft.
Yeah. That's fair. I at least want to play it and get through the story.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely a doable goal. What else have I played around with sci-fi wise?
Battlestar Galactica. The what was it called? I'm trying to remember the name of it. Deadlock. That's a game that came out not too long ago.
I'm not familiar with it. I've played the Battlestar Galactica board game, where basically the principle of the board game is that one person is randomly selected to be a secret Cylon, but
sometimes
the one time I got to play it, the guy messed up the deal, and so nobody was a Cylon.
Oh, jeez.
We all thought everybody else was a Cylon, but there was no Cylon.
Pleasure to meet you, Cylon. Yes, hello, fellow Cylon.
No, we were just like, all right, who's screwing us up? Who's screwing us over? Nobody, as it turns out.
No, Battlestar Galactica Deadlock is a real-time strategy game, but it's like a slow real-time.
Okay.
And you control so many points of ships as the Galactica group if you're playing single player. And
sure.
Eventually you get to Earth. That's your goal. There is a multiplayer function to it where one person can either play the humans or the Cylons, and the other side can play humans or Cylons as well. And you can mix and match ships.
Okay.
But once again, there's a point limiter, and different ships are good at different things.
Gotcha.
And they kept relatively too accurately to the show. So, for example, the base stars, for instance, don't have any missile intercept guns. But they have a shit ton more missiles.
Right.
So, that's their advantage. They're more aggressive. Compared to the human ones, which are loaded to the gills with fucking flak cannons. So, that's helpful.
Mm-hmm. There's Sins of a Solar Empire.
That's really good, and there's a mod for Sins of a Solar Empire, which is Star Trek Armada 3.
Yeah.
Which is very well done. I will say that. And they're supposedly making another Sins of a Solar Empire.
Yes.
And I'm excited. I want to see this.
Yeah, I think it's in like some kind of beta stage at the moment.
I heard it was in alpha.
Yeah, I just know it was some kind of early access where some people are able to play it, but it's not like if you go to Steam, there's not like a listing for it.
Yeah, I believe last time I heard it was still in alpha testing.
They just announced some kind of multiplayer-related feature last couple of weeks that they had added to the build.
Yep. The guys who did Star Trek Armada 3 admitted that as soon as this game comes out, they're going to be releasing a mod for the new Sins of a Solar Empire.
Nice.
So they're gearing up for that. there's a ton of monster Sins of a Solar Empire too, not just the Star Trek one. I heard someone did a Star Wars one, and as well as a Stargate. And that's also true for Stellaris. Like, I know there's a Star Wars one.
Right.
And rumor has it that there's somewhere a Stargate one. I haven't found it yet, but I want to, because I'm a big Stargate fan. So that will be a blast. I think that's what we got for this topic, don't we?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else worth mentioning in particular. I mean, in terms of tabletop RPG, just the granddaddy of them all is, of course, Traveller. I'm intrigued by Traveller after resisting it kind of like my entire RPG career as like, oh no, that doesn't sound all that interesting. But the Seth Skorkowski did a review series on Traveller and just turned me completely around on the subject. So I have a bunch of Traveller books. I would love to run Traveller sometime, but just gotta find the right group and the right time to do it.
Right. Which should help. There's unfertilized. I don't care about that. Yeah, okay, so they're not supposed to have fertilized, so why are the fertilized eggs still in here?
I'm gonna steal me some sheep.
Meh.
Whoops. Didn't mean to punch the sheep. Stealing the sheep. Doesn't do me any good to punch the sheep.
Yeah, steal the sheep, not punch the sheep. Yeah, yeet the... There is an old Star Wars mod for the old Mount and Blade game, too.
Holy shit.
Yeah, where you get lightsabers and freaking all kinds of crazy shit. I remember that now. That was wild. Alright, let's see what the wheel gives us now.
Wheel, wheel, wheel.
Hey, Straw Hat, let's go! Thank you for the Kronk supporter check-in. Let's see what our next topic is. Generic RPG systems.
Okay.
Alright, so any kind of like RPG system that doesn't necessarily fit into fantasy or sci-fi or any kind of system that we felt works really well. Like one that's really customizable is like GURPS.
Yes. So that's actually probably a good one to start with, is just classic GURPS. I'm trying to think if I had any prior experience. Well, one of the things that I will say is that there are many game systems out there that can be used generically that aren't necessarily used that way. The example I will go is most superhero RPGs can be used for any genre because superheroes can be from any genre. You can have a magic superhero, you can have a equipment superhero, and just by necessity, superhero games kind of cover that ground. But GURPS is the first generic game that I ever played. It's fine.
It's okay. It's not great. It's not terrible, but it works.
I've occasionally met someone who was really enthusiastic by GURPS, and they have always puzzled me.
It's like, hi, I'm going to do 17 pages of friggin' writing and math, and now I have a sailboat.
And honestly, yeah, that's fair. But one of my favorite generic games is actually worse about that aspect than GURPS is.
Really?
I mean, sort of. It's the hero system, Champions.
Oh, God. Yeah, that one also had stupidly long papers.
And honestly, once you've generated whatever it is you're trying to generate in Champions, it runs just fine. But it's just the creation process involves a lot of math, and so it's not everybody's cup of tea. But GURPS is kind of like the generic standard for generic role-playing games. It's like, do you do this at least as well as GURPS does? And if the answer is no, then it's like, well, what are you doing wrong? Because GURPS is kind of like what I consider the floor of competence. Now, that said, GURPS has amazing source books. Like if you're trying to run some specific genre of thing for any role-playing game, chances are GURPS has at least one and maybe as many as 3 or 4 source books to do that.
Yeah, they are the game that can basically do almost anything.
Yeah, and the books can be useful for other games. Like one of my favorite sets of GURPS supplements are for GURPS time travel, and it's the Who's Who 1 and 2. And basically, it's GURPS stats for famous historical figures. And it's like, okay, you can do rough conversions if you're like running some other system, and there you've got stats for Julius Caesar, and you know how he relates to a normal person in a GURPS standard. You can do the math and figure out how he would be in like a 5e derivative.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, big fan of the GURPS source books. Honestly, one of my favorite RPG books that I own is a GURPS source book, and yeah, I mean, this is as good a time as any to talk about it. So you know the big warehouse at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark where they put the Ark, in a crate and it's lost amongst all this other shit?
Yeah.
GURPS has Warehouse 23, which is sort of their Men in Black conspiracy settings version of that. And there's a source book for the Warehouse 23, And Warehouse 13, the sci-fi show from a couple of years back, very similar premise. Basically, dangerous artifacts hidden from the eyes of man for their own safety. And one of my favorite things that Steve Jackson Games, a publisher of GURPS, did is they named their online store Warehouse 23, which is really cool. And then they put a secret subsection on the website called the Warehouse 23 Basement, where it was just like an index of thousands of entries of weird shit that might be in Warehouse 23, and you could click in there and it would randomly select one and show it to you. It was all this great funny stuff, and I was just like, this is one of my favorite things a website has ever done.
That's cool as hell. For generic systems, though, I guess WAD would be kind of a generic system. Because you could do a lot with that system.
You can.
Yeah.
And New WAD had the Mortals source book, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Mortals source book was pretty much, hey, here's rules to make a human. And it doesn't take, like, crazy amounts of shit to do.
Yeah, so yeah, I would guess that you can use it in that way. I don't think that the WAD games are necessarily intended as generic, but they can be used that way because of the breadth of things that they have published. There's just so much out there that you're likely to be able to find something to, run the thing you want to run. Savage Worlds is another classic generic system. A lot of folks dig Savage Worlds. I'm fine with it. It doesn't sound like a ringing endorsement. I like it better than GURPS, but I have some issues with Savage Worlds that make it not ideal for me. But it's okay. I trying to think. It's got some really cool settings, like the original Deadlands is basically the proto Savage Worlds. So it's a very nice, interesting setting. What else do they have? They've got Rippers, which I love Rippers. It's like a Victorian monster hunting game. So I think that one's pretty cool. What else do they got? But yeah, they've got Rifts now because they partnered with Palladium Games quite improbably and managed to acquire the license to publish Rifts under Savage Worlds.
Which is nice.
They got through the crazy that is Kevin Ciambidia and got him to agree. And I think Savage Worlds is probably the most prominent generic RPG right now. It's the one I hear people talking about, and it's the one I see a lot of conversions going towards. Back in the day, it was GURPS. There's literally GURPS Vampire the Masquerade. You can run Vampire the Masquerade in GURPS. There's an actual licensed source book for it.
Yeah, which is kind of craziness, but hey, it's...
Other generic RPGs, of course, there's the rules light stuff like Fate. Not personally my cup of tea, but Fate can do anything. Mutants and Masterminds as a superhero system can do anything. As I mentioned, Hero and Champions. Hero specifically has a fantasy hero source book for fantasy, and Star Hero for sci-fi.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, it works. Trying to think if there's any other really big ones. Pretty much GURPS, Savage Worlds, and Hero are the three that I think of when I think of generic system.
Yeah, I feel like that's the case. I don't have a lot of experience with generic systems.
Mm-hmm.
So much like the most generic system I've played is WoD. And I've gotten WoD to do other things. But I wouldn't call it a strictly generic system.
No, but you're right that it has enough variety that it can cover a wide breadth of the things that you might want to do.
Yeah, I feel like that's fair. Oh, I forgot to change the thing to sci-fi, from sci-fi games to generics, but hey, we're already moving on to the next one. Uh-oh, my people have malaria. How do robots get malaria?
I mean, I don't know.
Squidgy, there's a book, Authentic Thaumaturgy by Isaac Bonewitz, whose author has actually earned a degree in magic from Berkeley. It is a gamer's guide to historic magic. Nate. I think that's cool as hell.
Oh, that sort of pinged my memory that there's, of course, basic role-playing, which is the core of Call of Cthulhu, which is a generic system.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Alright. Oh. I gotta look up that in a minute. Okay, let's see what we get. And I'm gonna have to erase this. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we get. Metagaming. That's the topic. Metagaming.
Alright.
Alright. I'm gonna start this with the simple statement that while metagaming for the most part people consider is bad, not all metagaming is bad.
Correct.
There comes a time where you do have to metagame just a little to make sure that everything goes well.
Yes. There is definitely good metagaming. It's metagaming that is in service of everyone having fun. And I think that there is definitely a place for that. Yeah, I'm always, let's say, disapproving of metagaming that is just for like a player's advantage. But a certain level of metagaming to keep the game just moving forward, to keep things flowing, I think is okay. You know, when, let's say, a player character dies and you meet the replacement player character in the dungeon. The gamers, of course, famously did the "you seem trustworthy, let's join forces." I think that's a little ridiculous, but at the same time, you know, I don't expect the party to go, well, this is a completely unknown person we have met in the middle of a dungeon. We shouldn't trust this person because they could, you know, be out to hurt us. I expect them to play in a way that makes it not too hard for the player who had to just remake their character to jump back into the action.
Yeah. Because at that point, it gets a little ridiculous.
Right.
It's just like, come on, man.
So what's the... oh, go ahead. I was going to ask you a question about metagaming, but if you got something...
No, go ahead. What was your question?
What's the worst instance of bad metagaming that you've seen?
I take it you have a story? Because
I mean,
I gotta rack my brain for a moment. There are so many bad options.
there are lots of little metagaming that I think has been bad, like, you know, oh, I know what the vulnerability of this monster is because I've read the monster manual and, you know, I'm expert on this stuff, even if my character isn't. I think the worst metagaming that I see on a semi-regular basis, though not with my current group, is more like the party is split and in two different locations. Something happened to one part of the party, and now the other is reacting as if they have that information.
Yeah.
Or even more strangely, like someone is not with the party, a thing happens that they want to be involved with, so, I suddenly am there. It's like, no, you're not. That's okay. You can miss something. So yeah. That kind of stuff frustrates me because it feels like it's a gateway to spotlight hogging. It's like, oh, I know something interesting is going on that I'm not currently involved with. I'm going to be involved with it.
Oh, Inquisition has one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, go ahead and type out your story, man. I will read it. And then...
or hop on the voice.
Yeah, if you want to hop on the voice, you can do that too. Oh, he's here. He's just not talking.
So, yeah, I just heard you say hop on the voice and I jumped in. I have push to talk on and I keep forgetting I have push to talk on, so my apologies. Right. Well, I'm playing a Star Wars campaign and my character and someone else's character are both told, right, we need to split our forces because the Empire have enough ships around the planet that we need to distract them and then have two other party members go down to the planet, find the secret shuttle that they've been working on, and run off with it.
Okay.
So far, sounds reasonably good, right? So, me and the other guy go down to the planet. As we're on our way to the planet, we're told by the guy running the mission, right, listen, when you get the ship, cause as much damage down there as you can. If you can destroy the other prototypes, do it. That way we've got the only prototype and we can reverse engineer it. So far, so good. I went, right. I was playing a former Sith who was trying to reform, but she kind of kept doubting whether she'd be able to reform. However, some of her quote-unquote friends were very insistent, you can do this. Now, the two of us are down there. I spot, and I don't know... well, I know Ruby has played Star Wars The Old Republic. You know the Sith ship?
Yeah.
That was there.
Oh.
And I remarked, would my character know what that ship can do? To the DM. The DM just goes, yes, you do. I turned to the other player and I said, right, listen. If you nab the prototype, I can try and get on board that ship and use it to destroy the other prototypes. The other player immediately went, sure, sounds like a good idea because that way we can get off with an extra ship. Though we'll have to debug it just to make sure there's no tracking devices or anything like that on it. My character runs into the ship and finds a Sith Lord standing there waiting for me.
Oops.
Uh-oh. Oh, shit.
I immediately go, just like Ruby went there, oh shit.
Give me...
I said, I try to turn and run back down the ramp. The DM
It
goes,
was at this
the
moment
ramp
that he
is now...
He fucked up.
Yes. The ramp starts pulling up, and I said, I'm going to try and get down it as fast as I can. The bastard pulped me back with a force. I got down the ramp and a little bit across the concrete where the other player clearly saw me and went, wait a minute, why are you running back out? This was out of character to me. And I went, the only way you can talk to me is if you calm me. He didn't do it. He ran off.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, knowing full well I was fighting a Sith Lord, and I got explicit words from the DM after this. You know, if he had abandoned the ship and tried to help you, the two of you could have beaten him. But you couldn't beat him on your own.
Let's see. Worst metagaming. I'm gonna have to say this is a LARP one.
Okay.
And it was several people in the game. We were getting sniped at by hunters. Alright? Which is problematic, to say the least. And I went for cover, and I ended up getting staked because of it. Because there were suddenly SWAT guys under the bridge that I took cover under to, shoot back at the snipers.
Right.
Because that would be the smart thing to do. So I ended up getting captured, and the people in the game knew that I had gotten captured without being told by the hunters or anything. They're like, oh, he's captured. And the same with one of the female players' characters. That they've been captured. Then they were told, and this is where the ST metagamed. This is why I'm saying this is bad. The ST metagamed and told them straight up, it goes, look, you can only save one. You are incapable of saving both. Pick who dies.
Huh.
And my character was the one who ended up getting killed. And that was a really bad example of metagaming. It was freaking terrible. So there was that. The other example I have for metagaming is I was DMing a game, and we had one player who was immensely big into power gaming. Like, he had to win D&D at all times. And I swear this guy suffered from what I refer to as small man syndrome.
Yeah.
He was playing a rogue assassin, and now mind you, this is 3.5. And he used his knowledge of the DMG to basically stab every monster as much as he can in the back. And then on top of that, he metagamed where you talked about the events where you're not actually there, but you suddenly appeared there.
Yep.
He did that all the time. But the biggest example I saw him of metagaming was there was a scene where one player had talked to one of the villain NPCs to convince him, hey, maybe you don't have to do this, and if you don't do this, we can, help your family, stuff like that. Because the main reason why he was doing it was to save his wife and his kids.
Sure.
That was not good enough for this player. And without any knowledge of the villain's motivations or anything, he hunted down and killed the villain's family.
Wow.
Because he wanted another fight. His solution to everything was, it has to get stabbed. Because if it's not being stabbed, my character doesn't have a purpose.
Dear me, that's... oof.
Yeah. Yes. So he killed a wife and 2 children just so he could have a fight with one of the BBEG's lieutenants.
That sucks.
Yeah. He is not a good person at all.
Doesn't sound like it, no.
Huh? Starts with an R? Yep. Yeah, Anne knows who it is.
Okay.
She was witness to some of his shenanigans, but not this one particular shenanigan. And mind you, this did piss off the party's cleric, who was the one talking to the guy and trying to redeem him.
Yeah.
And it was just like, he essentially undid all of her work. And I was like, dude, that's just bullshit.
Yeah.
Whew, that must have left the said party member, both or the character and in-character, pissed.
She was a little annoyed at the time. I will say that I think her and him are still friends. I believe. I'm not entirely certain. I think she still talks with him on occasion. But, like, Christ. He was a horrible person. He's not the worst person I know, but he is definitely one of the worst gamers I know. There is that. So I will say that my God, it was terrifying.
My current group's not too bad for metagaming stuff. I've got a couple of optimizers, and you know, I know and respect optimizers. I myself am an optimizer, so I don't mind that they, you know, gear themselves up for specific challenges. Just because they're things that their characters could reasonably expect to know. I've got a couple who are just more in it for the variety of experience, so metagaming would never cross their mind.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but to the best of my recollection, and Ruby, you've probably noticed this when I've been playing as Abadas, there are certain cases where when it goes wrong, I will actually have fun with it and try and make it a little worse if I can, just because I think it's funny.
Yeah.
Like in the most recent one, where we were doing a one-shot where we were all playing as the stormtroopers from Star Wars. I went to try and shoot the enemy, and I rolled a 1. The DM goes, "Jerry, your gun jams. You need to replace your ammo pack." I said, "Okay." My turn comes up again. I go to shoot. I get another 1. At this point, I scream, headbutt the gun, and then throw it at the enemy and just shout, "Why do we always get trash?" And
Okay.
the DM went, "Congratulations, you've killed him by throwing the gun at him instead of shooting him with it."
See, I wouldn't call that metagaming so much as just having fun with it.
Yeah.
Like for me, metagaming is you have to actively take information that you wouldn't have and use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
And-
Well, yeah. That's the bad metagaming. I will say that I have done good metagaming once. I think I've told you this story, Ruby, but I was playing in Return to the Keep on the Borderlands for like the 3rd time under a different GM, and I informed the GM, "Hey, I have played this before," and they were like, "Okay, yeah." There's an encounter in that module with a mimic that is disguised as an actual tower. It is a mimic big enough to walk inside. And I was aware of that encounter because of my previous run through the module. And I purposefully led the party into it because I thought it was a neat encounter. Hey guys, let's check out this tower.
Nom nom nom. I will say that there are times where I have metagamed. I try not to, for the most part. But there have been a few times where, as a DM or a player, I've metagamed. Usually it's like a similar effect to what you did, where it's like a story element I really wanted to see, or a story element I really, really just wanted to avoid. Because I know that it was just bad news for the rest of the players. A good example of this was I played in a Rise of Rune Lords game, and it was my 3rd time doing it. And I was playing like a little rat man, and I was having fun with it. But there was one section of it where I was like, all right, I know this creature has a low will save, and I know that if I don't target the will save, he is going to fuck everyone up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in a major way. And at this point, we have already had one player death.
Right.
So I was like, I would very much like to avoid anyone else dying in this game. I feel like that wouldn't be fun. So
Yeah.
I specifically used my knowledge of the villain to target his will save to basically make him not so much of a problem.
Sure.
And so there was that. But that was my opinion. If the DM gets upset about it because he is in chat, I apologize. It was just one of those situations I looked at and went, I really don't want this to happen.
No, and you know, for a case like that, there's an argument to be made. Like, I might have tried that anyway. You did have a specific knowledge in this case, but it's like, yeah, my bard has a lot of will save based stuff, so I'm very likely to use a will save type attack.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think. And I've done things like just being what I call genre savvy. It's like, okay, I'm expecting that there's going to be a betrayal of some kind. This guy seems like it's likely that he might be the guy that betrays us. It's not that I have out of game knowledge that I'm specifically using. It's more of like, this is just what my instinct tells me from like years of playing Dungeons and Dragons. This guy's gonna screw us, right?
Yeah. I think
Which I guess is related but different.
I'd say the best example I've ever seen of positive metagaming is actually from Anne. Alright? Now, mind you, this is not a tabletop RPG in this case, but this is the metagaming behavior. And it wasn't that she had seen the game before, or, what was it? There was one game example, and I'm trying to remember what the other was. Fuck. I just had this in my head, too. Alright, I'll go with the game, and if it comes to me later, I will. Alright, so the video game example was Star Wars The Old Republic. Alright?
Mm-hmm.
She is not a Star Wars fan. I'm putting this up front. She is not a Star Wars fan. So, why is this important? Because she was able to guess the entire story of the Sith Inquisitor in the Old Republic.
Okay.
From the first 15 minutes of gameplay.
Okay.
So it's like, it was oh yeah, and Squidgy, that was the one I was trying to remember. She also figured out nearly everything about Rise of the Rune Lords. She guessed it beforehand, and she had never read or played the game.
No, that's impressive.
Like, she had a very much a psychic knowledge of what was coming. Like, she pointed out something and go, it's like, I feel like the guy's gonna be here. And it's like, yeah, he's gonna be there. Like, I knew in my head, it's like, I've played this before. I know the guy's right there. I'm trying to avoid saying that, so that way I don't just railroad the game. And for a while, several people, like, this was back when we still had Cell in the game, she started accusing Anne of reading ahead in the book and metagaming, or I told her and she's metagaming, and I looked at her and went, nah, man, I didn't tell her shit. And she doesn't have access to the book, so she's just guessing, man.
It was stupidly easy.
Oh, yeah,
It literally spoon-fed you this information.
Yeah, it was amusing as hell. It was like, okay, that's cool. So there is that, and
I still don't understand why she got so mad, because it was literally, as long as you could pay attention, the game literally spoon-fed it to you.
I will also say that, oh, that's not what I wanted. I'm gonna have to redo all those.
By the way, if you know any of those metagaming stories involving me, please tell me, as I have not been doing D&D for very long.
I don't think I've encountered you doing metagaming yet. Or at least nothing that comes to mind. I will say that. What else is there, metagaming wise, for fun things? I'm trying to think.
I mean, yeah, like we said, metagaming can be used for good if it enhances people's fun rather than detracts. So don't fall into the trap of assuming that all metagaming is bad. That's something that a lot of people do assume. If your metagaming is to get yourself an advantage, that's not good. If it's to help save your party, okay, that's more justifiable.
It also depends, like, on the circumstances. Like, are you
Yep.
metagaming because you think it will lead to something really cool for the rest of the party, or, like you said earlier yourself, there, are you doing it just for yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's important.
Well, actually, I know in one case I can actually Candid, I don't know if you know this person, but Ruby will know who I'm referring to when I state this. My first ever campaign, someone wanted. It was meant to be a joke, and his character went, "I am a god," and from that ended up the character actually ending up with like followers and worshippers and believers. And I turned to the player and I said, "Okay, put in like add a god rule on your sheet." And I sat there and I went, "Right, if your believers manage to spread to 4 cities, you'll be able to do this. You'll actually be able to rule for this, and depending on how good or bad, whatever you're trying to do with the powers of a god to help you, you'll win or you'll lose." And his first attempt at doing this was to stop a bad guy from getting away. And I just went, "There's nowhere near enough belief in you yet to do that, but this is going to be so awesome because of how much the rest of the party keep on at you about you're no god. Why do you keep saying that? We all know you're not a god." And one of the members in the party was a staunch atheist. Kept insisting there is no gods whatsoever. And I went, "Okay, I'm going to enjoy this." I went, "Dearman, not only have you, in your attempt to activate your god powers, pulled him right back, but he's now stuck in the air so long as you keep your hand up." And Alex just went, "I keep him there," and I turned to the rest of the party and just say, "Quickly gets on to tie him with." And Dearman just kept the bad guy there for the rest of the party to tie up. To which...
Sorry.
Go
By the
ahead.
way, welcome, Ian. Thank you for the check-in. All right. Sorry about that. Continue.
Sorry, to which, like, all the other characters just sort of went silent. Especially the atheist. And I remarked to the atheist, "Have you nothing to say? No? Nothing at all? Here's actual proof. Gods exist." And he just wouldn't say anything. But like there, I thought that was something the rest of the party would get a huge laugh out of and just go, "Okay, this is hilarious." And everyone, like all the characters with the exception of the atheist, thought it was hilarious and brilliant because now they could find out where they needed to go, who they had to attack
Yeah.
from this guy, and he never got away.
Oh, yeah. Every now and then, the metagaming comes into helpful for the game.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. All right. Let's throw down. Let's see what we got. We got metagaming done. What is probably our third and final topic today? Least favorite RPG system and why?
Ooh. Yeah, that's I got multiple answers.
Oh, no.
I am getting called off. I will keep watching the stream and I will chat to both of you later at some point. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Catch you later, Inquisition.
Oh, one of my people had a heart attack.
Do you want to start or shall I?
Oh, seeing as you have multiple answers, I cannot wait to hear this.
So, the answer has varied over my career. and there are probably some consistent repeat offenders in my like bottom 5. I will say that I'm going to answer this on multiple layers. My least favorite RPG is probably things that is something that I haven't played. There are some really awful games. You may have heard of Fatal. You may have heard of Rehoa.
I haven't heard Rehoa. I have heard of Fatal.
Rehoa is short for Racial Holy War, which tells you exactly what you need to know
Oh
about
my
this.
fucking god.
Yeah, there's some really fucked up shit out there. Discounting the stuff that is made by these little trolls in the corners of the internet that just have miserable lives. Let's focus on stuff that's actually been published by a real company. There are games that I disliked because of their mechanics. There are games that I dislike because of their style. There are games that I dislike because of their, I guess, not tone is sort of what I'm thinking, but I will say that in general, the most popular RPG that I generally don't like is probably the World of Darkness systems, and it is because of the consistent mechanic across almost every single one of their systems of losing control of your character to the GM under certain circumstances, whether it be your fear of fire, your need for blood, your need to get into a fight with other werewolves to prove how big your dick is. It's basically I do not like losing agency over my character, and the World of Darkness designers fucking fetishize that shit.
Oh yeah.
Because you're so dark and edgy. The only World of Darkness exception that I can think of that doesn't have any kind of mechanic like that is the adventure pulp RPG. Like even Aberrant has the quantum taint or whatever. So yeah, that's probably the most popular RPG that I generally don't like.
I also say World of Darkness does have another negative to it. That is not being encountered, and it's mainly because how it is written.
Sure.
And that is the constant need of party conflict, especially backstabbing.
Yeah.
That is consistently in almost every system they have, with some versions of it being worse than others. Hey,
Yeah,
CC Money, how's it going?
I'm not fond of their, the world is doomed. You're just living in it, but the world is doomed. You can't do anything about it. Have fun.
It's not even just the world is doomed. Like, I'll give you the best example is Vampire. It's like, hey, everybody is stabbing each other in the back. Everybody is basically fucking horrible.
Yeah.
And you cannot team up with your friends.
Yeah, I don't like the constant paranoia game mode. I don't like it in television shows. Like the Battlestar Galactica show, it's like, okay, who's a Cylon this week, and how does that fuck over our characters? Sorry, I'm over it.
Yeah.
The Walking Dead is like, okay, what horrible thing will happen to our beloved characters this week? It's like you never get a chance to relax, and that's not how I choose to spend my entertainment time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am right there with you.
Oh, definitely. CC Money, hey, I'm glad you're doing well, man. But I hate that about WoD. Would I say WoD is the worst that I've played? No.
No, I mean, like I said, I qualified it as least favorite of the really popular RPGs. That's why I qualified it.
Yeah. I would not say that it is. Oh, hey, all the snakes are dead. How do I put this? The worst WoD system I encountered was actually not World of Darkness itself. Like, don't get me wrong, WoD is really bad about it.
Sure.
But for me, the one that really stands out as the worst that White Wolf is thrown down, Exalted.
Sure.
Everything is either overpowered or underpowered. And the player agency takeaways are still there. The friggin' backstabbing is there in full force. It just adds another aspect of, hi, I'm literally going to fuck you over by making sure that you never have the power necessary to deal with anything.
Right.
Which is so fucking frustrating.
Yep.
And it's overly complicated on top of it to boot.
Yeah, I get that.
And the other thing I don't like about the White Wolf books and the systems is their inherent need to force you to read their story in order to get to the rules you need.
Yeah.
I hate that to no goddamn end. Like, the only book they didn't do that with was the Aberrant first edition book, where the story was in the front half of the book and the back half was the rules. Every one of their books should have been that. Not intermingled rules in the frickin' story everywhere so that you have to play through their story to get their rules.
Yeah.
That is dumb as hell.
I'm trying to think. There are other games I have played. There are other games that have quirks that really annoy me. I talked earlier this evening about Traveler kind of turning me off for a long time. Call of Cthulhu was the same way. I had this impression of Call of Cthulhu, and a combination of me learning more about the game and kind of just my taste changing slightly over the years have really put me into really liking it. So, you know, a lot of these games are things that I might enjoy under other circumstances, but one of the most dull premises for a game that I have ever come across was a friend of mine wanted to run the Blue Planet RPG, and
oh no,
Blue Planet is a sci-fi like underwater focused RPG. Like, you know, you've got uplifted dolphins, and as a playable race you've got humans, and you're focused on underwater exploration. And to me that just sounded like you've got a sci-fi setting and you're squandering 99.99% of it to play oceanographer. And so in my mind, Blue Planet has always been Oceanographer the RPG. And so while I don't like hate it with the fury of 1,000 suns or anything, it sounds like the most uninteresting premise for an RPG that I've ever come across. Trying to think other game. I have told my story. I don't remember if I've told it on channel about the convention game I played of Quantum Black, but that was more an issue of the GMs not setting the right tone for the subject matter that they had chosen to do. They were modeling it on the Supernatural TV show, but had decided that, nah, we're going to make it a horrible, bleak, no-win scenario, which is not something that fucking happens in that show. They literally beat God. So that kind of shit frustrates me. Trying to think. The worst game that I've ever run is one that I am not easily coming up with. What's it for you?
For me, for run, Starfinder.
Okay.
Because of the complaints I had earlier, the system's not very well balanced. It's seriously needed to be percolated more and tested better before being thrown out.
Okay.
And that is true with how powerful the players are versus how quickly the enemies die, or versus the enemies being way more powerful than the players. Just no balance there at all.
Okay.
The item system, like you brought up, was another great example. And then the other thing I thought about was the magic system was complete dog shit.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
It's like when your primary casters only get 6 levels of spells.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, that really just, I don't like that. Trying to think. I haven't run Starfinder, or else it might be up there for me. I've run GURPS, but that surely can't be my least favorite of what I've run. Kind of going back through my campaigns. Actually, I have a Google Doc for this. Give me just a second. I made a Google Doc of every campaign that I have ever run, and I just want to see... Was it the ideas? Campaign ideas? Already run old campaigns list. Perfect. All right, I ran a lot of Dungeons and Dragons of multiple editions. I've done a one-shot in 4th edition, but honestly, I don't hate 4th edition as much as some people do.
I wouldn't say I hate it, but I can definitely see why it's considered one of the worst editions.
Sure.
It just not well designed.
I've run DC Heroes and Marvel Superheroes, both of which have had some issues, but I don't really hate them. I did try to write my own generic RPG for one campaign, and that was awful, but I won't count that because it wasn't published. Silver Age Sentinels might be the winner here because it was the second best D20 superhero knockoff. And it was a long way down from the first position.
Right.
Savage Worlds. Oh, no, I got it. Sorry, I got it.
Oh, here we go. This is going to be good.
Well, and this is... Again, it's not a terrible system. If it's a system that works for you, by all means, enjoy it. There is a lightweight superhero system called Icons, which is sort of partway between like a Mutants and Masterminds and Fate, but very much leaning towards the Fate side with rules light. Like you have these aspects and things. And for whatever reason, like, me, I'm a rules guy. Like, I absorb these things and I see the broken bits and the combos and, which way things go. For whatever reason, Icons will not stick in my brain. Like, it's simple, but I keep forgetting, like, how initiative's supposed to work and having to look it up in the book, which is poorly indexed. And it is just, it is the most rules light game I have ever run, and consequently my least favorite game I have ever run. It's fine, but I ended up the campaign I used for was my B-Leaguers Silly Superheroes game, where my team is basically a bunch of third-rate superheroes working out of Miami, Florida, and we recently resumed that game, and I converted everybody to Mutants and Masterminds because I was just like, Mutants and Masterminds, I know cold. I don't have to look in the book for anything, just about. But Icons, just does not work for me.
That's fair. But I'd say for one I've played, it's definitely Starfinder. For one I've experienced, but I haven't directly played. Probably either Fatal or Paranoia.
Oh, see, I've owned Paranoia. I've read Paranoia. I think I've even played it in a convention game, but I've never run it.
It just doesn't seem like it's fun to me. Like, what I watched happen was, like, literally someone walking in with 20 characters and going through all 20 in the game session. And I'm like, okay, this is just a bit ridiculous.
So, Paranoia is one of those things that you just have to be in the right headspace for, and if you're not in the right headspace, it is not going to work for you. And I've never really been in a position where I've wanted to run a Paranoia game. Like, I respect what it's trying to do, but it's funny to me to read, but I don't think I would enjoy running it. And comedy RPGs are really tricky.
Yeah.
And it is a dark as fuck comedy. And basically, you are a citizen in a future, like, underground bunker run by an insane computer. You're a troubleshooter with the basic level clearance red, and you have 6 lives, basically clones, and if you die, you activate one of your clones, and if you run out of clones, then you make a new character.
Yeah.
And the joke of the game, and it is very darkly satirical, sort of like the way 40K used to be, is that the friend computer, as they call him, is insane and basically a remnant of like a pre-apocalyptic world where, like jingoistic Americans made these huge underground cities to survive the apocalypse. So all that the computer wants to do is root out commie mutant traitors. It doesn't like communists, it doesn't like mutants, it doesn't like traitors. The problem is the actual functioning of the society that it leads, the Alpha Complex, is communistic. Everybody's a commie. The other thing is, everybody's a mutant. And because the society's so dysfunctional, you have to break the rules to get things done, so everybody's a traitor. So it's a game where you're under the rule of an insane computer that wants you to exterminate commie mutant traitors when everybody's a commie mutant traitor. So it's just sort of see who can kill who the most hilarious. It's like Broforce as a fucking RPG. And if you're not down with that, you're not going to vibe with it, and that's totally fine.
All right, that's fair.
Like I said, comedy games are hard. You reminded me, Toon. I love the Toon RPG in theory, where you play literally like a Bugs Bunny or a Porky Pig or a Daffy Duck. You make your own cartoon character. It's wacky fun. Except it's exhausting, and I can't imagine running a campaign of it. Like, maybe one session. But, yeah, I don't know.
Right.
Comedy games are hard.
Give me 1 second, hon. Hon?
Sure.
Do you want to walk him real quick? Because he's literally losing his mind. Okay, I'm just saying. Alright. Sorry, the dog is going crazy, and I was like, maybe he needs out or something.
Yeah.
Oh, someone hit a trap, of course.
I took a second to go over to my Facebook page where I am managing the schedule for my group. One of my players is wanting to try out a new game that he's going to run, and just trying to slot that into the schedule.
That's fair. You know what? You need more practice. Oh, you're sleeping. How's your sleep? Oh, not good.
Alright, let's see. Is this another...
Oh, both my medical people are sleeping. Great. Alright, let's see. Alright, I'd say we got... If the wheel gives us a simple topic, we can do that.
Sounds good.
Okay, we got at least 12 more minutes. GMPCs.
Well, that's certainly a loaded topic to go along with metagaming, a thing that everybody thinks is bad, but is sometimes not so bad.
Yeah. I will state this right now with GMPCs. I tend to play GMPCs.
Yes.
The reason why is because I am pretty much the forever DM.
Yep.
And it's extremely rare that I get to be a player. So I play GMPCs to hang out with the party and to try out character ideas I have.
Yeah.
I will say that if you want to do GMPCs well, the best way to do it is understand that your character is not the main character.
Yeah.
The party is the main character. And with that being said, you got to make sure that the party does what it needs to do in order to get better. Alright? And do their missions and things of that nature. Otherwise, don't try to step on their toes. So, like, my GMPCs tend to be very, like, supportive of the characters. They try to help them out, but they don't give them the answers. unless the party asks a very pointed and specific question where I know they're at least going in the right direction. And the GMPC would have that information.
Yeah, I rarely use GMPCs because if I'm running a game, I want to focus on the actual NPCs and the story. So I tend to not want to distract myself. What I would use GMPCs for is mainly for the, nobody in the party wanted to roll up a cleric. Well, okay, they're going to need a cleric, so I will make a GMPC cleric.
Yeah, to send with them. Yeah. I usually do that with my GMPCs. I go, what character is the party missing? Okay, I'll go with that. Whatever role. There are a few games I have that have a very much a GMPC in mind that I want to run, and I'll go with that.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, I tend to be like, yeah, whatever, the party needs. Let's just do that. And I try to ask also the players at the beginning of the game, too. It's like, hey, is this going to be a problem, or do you not want one of these guys running around? Because there are times where, like, more often than not, my players have told me, yeah, we want one of your characters with us, because we enjoy seeing you play a character. I've had a few instances where that wasn't the case, and I didn't run a GMPC, but with that being said, though, I ended up running into, what's the word I'm looking for? I ran into issues where some players, basically the reason why they didn't want the GMPC is because they thought that it would overrun the party, and then they turned out to be the player that overruns the party.
Oh, irony.
Yeah, it's like, what? It's like, what the hell, man? So, with GMPCs, like I said, a couple rules that you definitely need to keep in mind. Be supportive of the party. Don't... Huh? Yeah, you're not the star of the show. That's the biggest problem I've ever seen with people who play GMPCs is... that tend to be the problem one, is, they want to be the star of the show. And so, ergo, it's my character, and the party members just happen to be... tagging along for the ride.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like, that's a problem. Scordana. Oh boy, you need to run this way right now. So, if I was going to say that, definitely make sure that you understand you are a supporting character. You are a supporting role. The party is the main characters.
Yeah. Do not basically become the main character in a story that you're also the author of. That's not going to be interesting.
Yeah. I will say that a cool way to think of it this way is if you're a Star Wars fan, the party is Luke, Han, and Leia, and Chewie. Like those guys. And C-3PO and R2-D2, alright? They're the main characters. You're more of like a Wedge Antilles.
Yeah.
Alright, if you're the DMPC.
Or at best a C-3PO.
Yeah, at best a C-3PO or like something along those lines. C-3PO, maybe R2-D2, something along those lines. Those guys. Hell, I would even say Chewie at best.
Yeah, I mean, Chewie is a supporting player, but it varies.
Yeah. So, like, be the supporting role. Definitely go for that. In Star Trek terms, you're not the bridge crew. You're like O'Brien from Next Gen. Hell, maybe even Guinan. Guinan's a good example.
Guinan is fun, yes.
Yeah, you could play like a Guinan-like character where it's like, yeah, you have all this wisdom, you have all this knowledge, and you give cryptic answers to help the party.
Yep.
Because you're like, yeah, they're young. I want them to be able to solve this for themselves. I mean, shit. So, like, have fun with it that way. That's definitely a good way to put it.
Just remember, you are essentially the author, so you know everything. So you basically can solve every problem instantly. You're also the GM, so you have the power to literally do anything. You cannot achieve anything worthwhile in the game because all of your achievements are suspect because you're essentially God.
Yeah. If anything, like, for example, the character I played in Star Wars is a great example of a GMPC. He's very good at combat. He's very good at fighting. But he is not the talking character, and he's not the problem solver.
Yeah.
He's the type of character that the party went, hey, we need this thing shot. Shoot it.
Mm-hmm.
And he shot it. A lot. It's like, if you shoot it with enough bullets, it will go away.
The Mordaka rule.
Firepower.
Yeah, or as my wife just put it, peace through superior firepower.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Alright. I think 5 minutes is close enough.
Yeah.
So let me pull up Twitch real quick. Go back to just chatting.
I found an under lava dungeon in the Nether.
I love it when, you know, everything just basically stops not wanting to work. Alright, let's see what we got here. We got a bunch of stuff going on today. Let's see. God, there's so many options. Alright. Show more, show more. Okay, we hit the end of the list. Yay. Alright, what we got here? Marbles on stream. That could be fun. Fall Guys. Some Final Fantasy 14. A couple of Elden Rings. Oh, there's a Hogwarts Legacy. Paleotizing is playing Jurassic World Evolution 2. I'm tempted to do that just for the kicks of it. Paleontizing is actually a professional paleontologist. So him playing Jurassic World Evolution 2 is just ironic gold for me. I wonder if he's still, like, if he's playing it or if he's doing, like, it says tier list. So let's see what's going on. Okay, come on, play nice. Let's not have the system keep, like, having a seizure. No, it looks like he's just talking about it. Okay, that's not gonna work. Let's see what we have here. Final Fantasy X-2. Spider-Man, Monster Hunter Rise. Jesus. There's so many options. It's hard to pick which one you want. Final Fantasy 14 again. That's showing up a lot. I guess it's getting popular again.
Did they just like release a patch or something?
They must have or something. It's Age of Empires 4. Puzzle Monkey Trees doing Stardew Valley. I did that yesterday. Let's see. Crisis Core. Trying to think of something that really hits. Let's see who we got. There's also Forewarned. That could be fun. That's like ancient Egyptian phasmophobia. See if you're doing that. See if they're sticking around. Alright. They're on just chatting. What's going on? Oh, they're ending it. God dang it. Curses. I am trying to find one that's good. I guess I could do Rin Karagani because he's doing Final Fantasy 14.
Right on.
Alright, so we'll do that. It looks like he's doing it for a while, so that works. Excellent. Alright, so we're going to raid Rin Kagami. If you are Give me a second. Where is it? Follower raid message. If you are one of my followers, please use the following raid message. If you are one of my subscribers, please use the following raid message. So we're going to be raiding someone called Rin Karagami. I think I'm going to... Karigani. I'm really bad with reading names. He's playing Final Fantasy XIV. It's a great game. I highly recommend it. Next Monday is more Stellaris, which is Stellaris Eterna. I'm going to be releasing the story video this Sunday when it's completely edited and everything, so we'll have that. With that being said, make sure you're taking care of yourselves mentally and physically, because that's always important. Remember, it is always time for tea in the tavern, and I hope to see you all Monday. Toodles.